Okay, so you're wondering if you should buy a house in Orlando in 2022? Yeah, you probably shouldn't. Here's why. What's up, everyone? My name is Cameron Haas, coming at you from eXp Realty here in Orlando, Florida. On this channel, I'll help you know everything about making the move and living in Orlando, Florida, and I absolutely love it. I'll drop videos for you every single week. But what I love even more, being a licensed real estate agent here in the state of Florida, is helping you with your real estate decisions in Orlando, Florida, or just Florida in general. Even I have partners in all cities in the state, and I absolutely love it. So this number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me. You can call, text, email, whatever you have to do. I have your back when moving to Orlando, Florida. All right, getting straight to the point. Should you buy a home in Orlando? Look, it's not even just Orlando that people are having this issue. It's nationwide. They're like, should I even get into a home? Should I buy a home? And there are so many ways to attack this issue. Now, for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to assume you don't already live in Orlando, but these concepts still apply to you. I'm going to assume that maybe you're moving here from from a different city in Florida, maybe a different state, or maybe even a different country altogether. So, look, obviously it is a clear value that rates have gone up. Obviously they dropped down a little bit when they raised rates again a couple weeks ago, and they're a little bit more manageable, but yeah, they're not like the two point something rates that we all know from a year ago. And a lot of people get scared about whether they should get into a home and is it even a great thing. I will tell you that even if the world's doing great or even if the world's burning, there is a good time and a bad time for each individual person. It all depends on your situation and what you're trying to do and where you're trying to do it. Now, I will tell you, I have clients that buy right now, I have clients that sell, and I have clients that invest, and all of them are doing just fine. But it's always important. The first thing you need to know is that you know your financial situation. Can you afford it? Do you have the money down? If you don't have the money down, is there a loan product that can help you, like a VA loan, FHA loan, which is like 3.5% down? And there's so many different ways that you can get into a home, but do you have the savings in place to do that? And also, like, do you understand how much that cost would be monthly? And it's not just about the loan, right? There's more to owning a house than just the mortgage that's in place. You have insurance, taxes, random things could go wrong. Like, all of this plays into home ownership. And look, I do believe owning a home is an American dream, but at the same time, it doesn't always mean it's the best thing. I know it's crazy. I'm a real estate agent. I should tell you that yes, you absolutely should buy a home at all times. It's never a bad decision. What a load of malarkey. Jesus, there you go, bringing back my grandmother's saying. But really, it doesn't make sense for everyone, right? So I've done videos recently where it's like, if you're looking to come to Orlando maybe temporarily, and this really just applies to any city, but if you're going to where you're living like temporarily, like, well, I'm not going to be living there the entire year. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't buy a home. Maybe you should look into something that maybe like a condo, right? I just did a video about like condo hotels and things like that, where you put more money down, but now you can short-term rent the condo, but it's less maintenance and less hassle on you as the owner, and you can also break even or make profit on that property, which is pretty cool. But you know, if you are looking to get into a home, you know, there's a lot of people I know that are struggling financially in this current inflation that we're experiencing. And I get it. I am. I'm not making tons of money here. I am just the same when it comes to all of you, or most of you that are watching this, when it comes to feeling that financial burden. And it sucks. I will tell you that when you look at the last 100 years, interest rates are fairly average. Like, the average is usually about 6%. So the fact that you're seeing rates where they are, not that crazy. Some of my first rates when I bought a home years ago was about 5%, and it wasn't crazy to see that. You know, it was between 4 and 5% during that time of like 2017, 18, 19. It wasn't crazy to see that. And now we're in a position where, you know, rates are back up. And unfortunately, home prices are up there with it. Now, I will tell you, in some scenarios, we are seeing slight reductions. For the most part, unless the home is like really destroyed or it's a really bad area, it's like 3% drop. And, you know, a lot of people have opinions about a major real estate crash and things like that. All I can say is that no one has a crystal ball. And I can tell you that it'll be a very interesting 18 months in the future. But I will also tell you, just like stocks, you know, when the stock market drops, Warren Buffett doesn't just sell all his shares at nothing. He holds them, and he buys more at a cheaper value. Real estate's not much different. It's just bigger money we're playing with in most cases. And I will tell you that that's why I say it's so important to make sure you're financially sound. And you know, that's why, like, it's harder to get a loan now than it was during the subprime mortgage bubble in 2007, 2008. It takes a lot more work. Back then, you could do an interest-only loan as a regular person. It's crazy, absolutely nuts. That's why so many people foreclosed and defaulted on their loans. And, the situation is, if you know you can afford the payment, you have good employment, you have good income, and you can afford the payment you're in, and the home is in a good area, you enjoy the home itself, then in reality, it's great. And now I will tell you, if you're one of those people that you're always looking for a deal, it has to be a deal, look, you have to be careful, because I will tell you, I've seen people for the last 10 years, they're like, Cameron, I'm gonna buy a house next year, or I'm gonna wait for the market to crash, and guess what? They're still waiting. They're still renting, they're still doing what they do, and they're not getting into the market. You have to understand that if you're getting into the market, you have to make that conscious decision and say, I am doing this, I'm getting into it. And then you reach out to someone like me. We have a 3-way meeting with a financial professional, like a lender, and we sit down, we run through everything. If you aren't able to buy a home, guess what? No one's gonna force you to go into it. Miracles cannot happen. I'm sorry. I know everyone's like, miracles can happen. Look, in God's world, yes, maybe miracles can happen. They do happen. But when it comes to fitting the box for getting a loan, if you're doing it the regular way, which is just like your income, your debt, and making sure you can qualify for a certain amount, guess what? There is criteria that every bank follow in this country for you to do that, and you have to make sure you fall in that realm, which is why you have to make sure that you can afford the payments, and realize that, let's say they come in, they're like, hey, you can afford up to $500,000. Maybe it doesn't make sense for you to go that high. That's why also the next step isn't just what you can afford, whether it's 5, 6, 700,000, even $1 million, right? It doesn't mean you need to max out your budget. You have to sit down. That's why we sit down. I sit down with all my clients. We sit down and we say, okay, what do you want? Beds, baths? Do you want a pool? Do you not want a pool? Do you not care? Do you want the community to have a pool? Do you want an HOA? Do you want no HOA? Do you want some land? Do you want a farm? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to maybe own the home for 5 years and then rent it afterwards? What are you trying to do? Because it's not all about the money. The next step is finding what fits your needs. And if your needs, let's say you're approved for $500,000, but your needs are $375,000, $400,000, then why do we have to go so high? It doesn't make sense to do that. And regardless of that's why I tell you, it doesn't matter what's going on in the market. Don't just focus on the news. The news tells you, all they ever tell you is the doom and gloom. The world's falling apart. The world's always been falling apart. The world's been falling apart for hundreds of years. It's always falling apart. There's always the next thing that's going to destroy us. The next thing that's going to do this. And you need to make sure that your family and you have your picture in place. That's what matters. To make sure that you can afford it financially and to make sure you have things in place. That's why it's always good, maybe if you are concerned, right? And this is the same concept I use with my first-time investors. And the same concept I will talk to homeowners. And say, hey, when you're buying that first home, imagine you're stressed about what could go wrong. Imagine you bought that home and maybe you had an extra $5,000, $10,000 in savings that was just there in case anything goes wrong with the home. Now, I understand for most people, you're like, Cameron, I just want to be able to qualify for a home. I've been there. When I first got into real estate and I left my regular job, I got put in a position where they're like, hey, Jack, you have to wait 2 years of tax returns for us to even look at your income. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was stuck, and that was unfortunately the hole I got placed into. So if you're self-employed, I feel that. I feel your pain because that's unfortunately the route you end up having to go through. Now, there are situations and lenders out there who will give you a higher rate and be able to get you into a home if you're self-employed and things like that. They're usually not going to be the best financial decision for most people, but there are some options that have emerged out there, but I'm not going to tell you they're perfect. Now, that's why but again, you just have to know your needs and what you're trying to do because, that financial piece and your needs, they need to meet and you need to find a middle ground to what makes sense. And then if you are super nervous about getting into this market, hey, imagine put yourself in your head, you're like, well, maybe I have enough money for the down payment and closing costs. But what if I had an extra couple thousand that just was sitting there as a nest egg in case something broke on the home? Maybe my roof needed repair and I needed a down payment to cover that, or something like that. Imagine if you just had a fund that was set aside. For most people, I think we're okay taking that risk, and we know we have income coming in. We make a sound financial decision when we buy the home. But if you're someone who has just been sitting there, you're like, I want to buy a home, I'm just really nervous. Fantastic. There are ways to figure out how you can kind of protect yourself, right? And I don't say protect yourself by making sure it's a good area and all that. All that's good things, but it's making sure you're in a position that you stay, sound in your future. Because the last thing anyone I do, especially myself, so I am really passionate about people improving their lives with wealth. And getting into a home is kind of that first step, that first journey for most people here in America. And it's really important. But getting into a home that you clearly maxed out on, max budget, is not a good decision. If you're in that position, like let's maybe you only qualify for like $300,000, and you're like, Cameron, I don't want a condo, I want a home, but I can afford to rent a home. Hey, that's okay. No one, if someone's judging you, forget about them. Figure out where you need to be and what you need to do. And if you don't have a game plan, you don't know what to do, that's why I am here. That's why I have conversations. I can tell you, even as an agent, more often than not, I have more conversations with people who want to get a home who can't every single year than people who actually use me for my services. Because that's just the unfortunate fact, especially in the current environment here in America. A lot of people want homes and they can't afford them, or they can't afford the size of home they need. Like they're like, well, Cameron, I don't want a condo, I want a home. I get that. I feel your pain. And I've also had clients who, if you're moving from California to here, or New York to here, or Chicago to here, you're probably like, wow, Cameron, I went from a condo to now I can afford a home because my income stayed the same. That's great if you're in that situation. And if you're relocating, hey, personally, I understand your fear. Like I've had definitely clients who are like, Cameron, I'm going to choose to rent the first year instead of purchase something. I understand. I completely get it. That is a huge fear anyone would have, is you move somewhere, you buy a home, and now you're stuck. But I will also tell you, is that why me and my team are here. We specialize in helping people who aren't even here physically getting in the right area. I'm telling you, like if you aren't living here and that's your concern about buying a home in Orlando, like when we do a virtual tour of the home, I will tell you nothing but the bad things about the home. I'll tell you if the floor squeaks. I'll be like, oh, there's a little stain over here, because you need to know all the bad. And if you're comfortable with the bad, then you're setting yourself up for success when you get here. It's also so important because we like to build out what's called a hot sheet. So if you're able to take a trip to Orlando, I love to give people a hot sheet, which is top areas in each city of your interest. Say, hey, visit here, visit this neighborhood, visit this location. And that puts you in a position when you come and visit to know where you can drive and things like that. So you kind of gain a better overall picture of where you should and should not live. Now, I will tell you also that, you know, a lot of people are concerned about the market. And if you're not comfortable making a decision, then don't do it. But I will tell you that even if you're looking to buy a home in 2 years, like you can reach out to me. I'm here to help you and talk about it and discuss far out in the future plans. It doesn't bother me. Like I feel like a lot of times people feel like they can't reach out to agents because they feel like, hey, they're going to either try and sell me, or they're like, I'm going to waste their time because I'm not ready. Look, I can tell you, I hate most people I work with in this industry. It's just a fact. But if you reach out, we can have a conversation. We can build a game plan that's individualized to you. Heck, I just had a Zoom call last week with a client who really wants to get a home. He was part of the, I forgot what country he was from, but he was the physical trainer for their Olympic team. But since coming to America, he's like, I've never wanted a home. I always want to buy a home. And even though he can't afford it now, we got him on a plan. So hopefully in the next 12 months, maybe sooner, he will be all set to go. We can get him into a home to change his life. And I'm so thankful to be able to meet people like him in my life and help them. So if you're concerned about this market, you're nervous about what's going on, what could happen, hey, this number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me. Call, text, email, whatever you have to do. I'm here to help you create that game plan. Or hey, you can just reach out and we can have a conversation about your concerns of the market, what I'm seeing, what's going on, the hard facts behind what's going on, and we can create that conversation. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some insight whether you should or should not buy a home in Orlando. Orlando's expanding. It's getting bigger. I will tell you that Orlando's going to be doing nothing but expanding, and more people are moving here. So in that regards, there will always be a demand for homes. So hope you enjoyed this video. Look forward to seeing you in the next one.